Hey y'all, this video is going to be a redo of the second half of my last video. So originally in the last two videos, I said that I had heard the phrase back to back to back. So that's 3 topics. But once I started, when I started getting the verses that go with these dreams that I was getting, I was like, oh, it's 3 different topics. But I thought I would just combine the last 2 topics into one video. But because I was so flustered with what I had to talk about in regard to the famine, I really just kind of brushed over the school thing. And all day yesterday, on my mind, it was like no matter what I was doing, I kept thinking, redo the school thing, redo the school thing. And I was like, no, it's fine. And then last night I was sleeping and I woke up to the phrase school redo with like a screenplay of me redoing it and talking about things that I didn't talk about originally. So this is, me following instructions. I should have made them 3 different videos in the first place, but I didn't. And because I was so flustered about the famine thing, I really didn't precisely say what I was supposed to say in regards to school. So this school part is going to be partly testimony and partly things that I heard, okay? Because the only verse I have is 2 Samuel 7:3, and it says, go ahead with what you have in mind. Nathan replied, for the Lord is with you. So that came to me when I was really asking God if I should talk about the school thing, or if that's what he really wanted me to talk about. So last summer, it was around June to July maybe, or maybe mid-July to the end of July. It was around that time because school had not started in the fall yet, okay? So it was around that time. And my husband and I were going through our little marriage testimony thing, which there's a video up there somewhere about our marriage testimony. And it was a lot to go through. And I prayed one night and I asked God, I'm like, should I send my youngest 2 to school? Now I asked God by name, okay? I named each one of my youngest 2 children. But the funny thing is I have 2 older children that are 18 and over, so they're adult children. And then I have 2 that are younger. And growing up, even when my adult children were, younger, we always called them the bigs and we called the other ones the littles, okay? So but when I prayed, I specifically prayed naming each of those younger children by name. And I asked, should I send them back to school because of everything that's going on? Because I had already taken them out of public school for education reasons. Like my son, my younger son, he tested very high in his math scores. He was in 5th grade at the time and he was testing at 11th grade math level. So he wasn't really meeting his educational needs as far as advancement. So that's what led me to really look into homeschooling. It wasn't anything else but that. And plus I got to see, when COVID came around, I got to see what they were really focusing on, and it was the state testing. They were so focused on state testing that their lessons, everything was about how to take a test, different types of test taking skills, how to, go through multiple choice answers. It just really wasn't what my son needed. So that was why I did not have him in school. Or have the youngest 2 in school. So anyways, back to me and my prayer, I said, should I send my son and my daughter, which I named them by name, back to school? And then I went to sleep and I woke up because I specifically heard this: I want you to teach the littles because school is decimating. And I want to be real precise, so the word because wasn't in there. So it was, I want you to teach the littles, schools are decimating, okay? And then I looked up decimating, and it really just boils down to destroying. So schools are destroying children by focusing not on their education, but on social matters. Now this was, again, last summer. And if you fast forward to what's going on in this summer, what schools are focusing on is just backwards things. And if you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to get into specific details because I'm not here to offend people, but I'm just telling the truth, is that what is being focused on in school are social issues that are not really educating the kids in regards to reading, writing, math, you know, even art projects. Like, everything has to be based on social agendas that they're pushing on children right now. So that was what I had heard. Okay. And then fast forward to around, I don't know, it was after winter, so maybe at the beginning of this year, January, February timeframe, I heard these songs, and it was Pink Floyd, "We Don't Need No Education, Leave Our Kids Alone." That was the lyric that I heard. And then I heard the lyrics, "No more teachers, dirty looks," you know, that rhyme, but just that verse. And then I heard "School's out for summer, school's out forever." And in my last video, just, you know, weird thing is, I remember that song because it played in the original Scream movie. So when I heard that song, I literally saw the scene that played when that song first started, and it was just a scenery of a neighborhood. So I don't know, I have a weird brain that I distinctly remember what that neighborhood looked like, what that White House looked like. You know, I got a weird brain. And then I heard on the day that I gave the last video, so like 2 days ago maybe, that day I heard "Time Keeps on Slipping, Slipping, Slipping Into the Future." I know that that is part of a song, but I didn't look up the song. That's like literally the only lyric I know from that song. And that's just time is going along where these future events might happen, or me, you know, not giving the message when I should have given it, you know, not realizing it wasn't just something personal for me. But when I heard those songs, it didn't really make sense to me, because I was like, well, my kids aren't even in public school. So I see now that it does have to do with this massive agenda that they're pushing on the children, and the rights that they're trying to take away from parents for things that shouldn't be up for question in regards to these little elementary aged kids. And even, you know, in high school, I mean, they have things going on in school that they are just not even including the parents or talking to the parents about. I mean, anything in regards to the kids and their social thing, or more serious issues. They're just cutting parents out and passing laws that are cutting parents out of their minor children's lives. So I think that is what the main focus is about what's going in school, and how school is destroying the children. And I had heard, I heard the words 6 months, and then there was a pause, and then I heard "Parents, listen carefully." Okay, so I had forgot to say that part in the last video, or I don't remember, but I tried to just type it in the description, and that's probably why God was like, just redo it. Okay, so that's what I heard. It was 6 months, pause, and then "Parents, listen carefully." I don't know if listen carefully to what I'm saying about school is destroying your children, or parents listen carefully to the news, or maybe different videos you might be watching about what's going on with the children at school. But at the time, this was the second time that I heard 6 months. Okay, so the very first time that I heard 6 months, I remember thinking, okay, 6 months, are you talking about June? Because that's the 6th month. But whatever month it was that I heard 6 months the first time, when I counted out to 6 months, it would have been around the August time frame, which is when most schools start in the fall. So all I can say is I'm just a human. I don't know exactly what the significance of 6 months, if it had to do with June, because June is a very prideful month. and that's what they are really focusing on school right now. So that could be what I heard, 6 months. Or maybe something is gonna, you know, play out to where parents are gonna have to really make some choices about schools in regard to when school starts back up after summer break in the fall. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard. And then again, I gave this in the last 2 videos, and I'll give it again. I got the Strong's coordinates number, or I think, is it coordinates? Just Strong's number 1022, which equals slowness, tardiness, again, slowness and delay, because I was really slow and really tardy in giving these messages in regard to famine and school. And the famine one obviously is because if you watch that video, the one that says let's talk about famine and school, if you listen to that one, I sound super crazy about the famine thing, and I did not want to talk about it. So and then in regards to the school one, because I didn't have specific verses to go with it, I just took it as a personal thing. Like, okay, I asked God about my children, these were the answers I got. I just wasn't using my brain as to how my testimony in that could help maybe other parents when they look at what's going on in school, with school, and what to do. Now, let me rewind a little further back. Is I had a whole bunch of stuff that I had gathered to homeschool my children in, like, I bought books from like the marketplace, like Facebook Marketplace. When I had Facebook, I went on there and I found some books. I mean, a lot of people had great books to purchase, and I think I purchased a great set from a teacher who had just moved to our state, and I was able to have a large collection of stuff that I did not pay a lot of money for. But in the meantime, God was like really getting on me about getting rid of things that I had an abundance of stuff. Like, I was just kind of hoarding like school things, and so I had a lot of stuff that I didn't even use. But why was I still keeping it? I don't know. So I ended up donating those to other families in the neighborhood, or giving them for free, or we tried to sell some books for like $1 and we donated them to like a food bank, or like the money to a food bank. So we did that kind of stuff. But how great is God, right? Because I was like, oh, I don't want to get rid of these books, because what am I going to do for school stuff? And I spent a lot of money on that, but with the amount of it, I didn't like spend an excessive amount of money on school supplies, if that makes sense. Like, I had a lot of stuff, but I bought them secondhand and things like that. And it just kept pressing on me to look into getting a Christian-based curriculum, and not just things that I had thrown together to try to put together a good lesson for the kids. Now, mind you, the kids had fun, and I looked up, you know, different things to keep up with what they needed for that grade level, you know. So it's not as hard as it looks. It seems so overwhelming when you're like, oh man, I have to homeschool 2 kids. Or at one point I was doing 3, because my second oldest just graduated high school in 2022. So I was like, okay, now I'm doing this. Can I do it? Would I be able to do it? And it was not that hard. And my kids loved it, okay? But this year I went ahead and really just cleaned out everything that I had collected to do school, and you gave those away. You know, other families can use those to start off with, or if they like them, they can continue. There's nothing wrong with it, but it kept being pressed on me to really look into a Christian based curriculum, and some of those things are expensive. Like, I was like, wow, I don't know, like, that's a lot of money up front that you really have to save for. And I had traded in the car, and I had to call my insurance to update the information. Like, this is not God makes things happen, right? So I was sitting on the phone talking to the insurance person. I'm like, oh yeah, we need to take that car off and add this car on. And she mentioned like, how many miles are you going to be driving? And I said, well, I don't really have to drive back and forth to different school things, because I homeschool. And then out of nowhere, she goes, yeah, I homeschool too, and I use the Christian-based curriculum, and she gave me the name of it, which was Abeka, which I had looked into before, but it was kind of pricey. But when I went back on their website, I was like, I wonder if they have like an affordable like payment options. And they do. Okay, so if you are looking to find a Christian-based curriculum that is affordable, where you don't have to pay a large sum of money up front, they do have a payment plan. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's great. It's a better option if it's in your budget to do that way, to do it that way. And it's not like you have to apply for a credit card or anything like that. It's not Affirm. It's not those what is that, Afterpay. It's not those things at all. It is a monthly payment over a long span of time. I want to say like 10 months or 11 months, and you just don't have to apply for credit. So if you're worried about credit cards or things like that, it's not one of those things. I mean, I wasn't too hung up on that, but you know, everybody's been in a time in their life where that is an issue. And so I'm just really careful about things like that as I try to work out, you know, just living a better way and being really smarter about the way I spend my money. I mean, that can go into a whole nother video, but if it helps and you want to look into a Christian-based curriculum, that's what I chose. Are there ones that might be better? Sure. Are there ones that might not be as great? Sure. Am I knocking what I had done originally? No, because I was able to do a full year and a half of schooling with things that I had collected. And I even used like some different online homeschool program that was not one of those public online schools. Like, it was your own program that you use at your own pace, that a lot of kids would use for like additional math help or different subjects help. It's been like an add-on to maybe kids who are in public school, but you can use that for homeschool too. And that was really what I did too. I looked at what that lesson was, and then I built around each of those lessons with the additional things that I had to make it more fun, make more hands-on things, because sitting on a computer the whole time for a young kid, you know, at the time my youngest was in kindergarten, in first grade, and you know, it's like she's finishing up second grade and they still want to do hands-on things. So this is great. I got all the Abeka, I got all the materials in, everything that I could possibly need to have a Christian-based homeschooling experience, except for, you know, if you need art supplies, they have an entire list of whatever you do for art, but it gives you what you should go buy. And you can buy those at the Dollar Tree, because half the time, you know, that's what I do. Popsicle sticks, Dollar Tree, pom-pom, Dollar Tree, paint, Dollar Tree. Like, homeschooling is not hard, and you're their parent, so you're gonna know exactly what they need to succeed. So that's my video on school. Those are things I heard. That's my personal testimony. This is me redoing it, and hopefully this is easier to follow than my frazzled video where I spend majority of the time talking about a famine that I didn't want to talk about anymore. So I hope you guys stay in the light and keep your kids in the light, because right now public school is a hot mess with some things. All right, thanks guys, bye.